Hi everyone, my name is Willem, this is Dale, and our cameraman is Tian. The three of us are Homebot, and tonight we're going to talk a little bit about home automation, about Amazon Alexa, Google Home, how you can make your house smarter so it starts thinking on its own. You don't have to switch lights on when the sun goes down, you don't have to stop your irrigation when it starts raining, all that kind of stuff. Modern houses should be able to do. But until now, it's been prohibitively expensive, especially in South Africa. So we're going to talk about a couple of solutions that you guys can implement. We do sell most of these solutions as well, but you're welcome to ask us about any home automation products that you have questions about. If you have a Philips Hue bulb at home, if you have a Wemo smart plug, anything like that, ask us your questions and we'll answer as best as we can. So let's get started with what Homebot does, just briefly. Homebot is a Cape Town-based company, and Dale is an electrical engineer, and I'm a software developer. And we both have been automating our homes. Dale to a much greater degree than me, but I'm busy building a house now, and I wanted to automate my house as well after I saw what Dale did with his lights and everything. And I went to him and I asked him, but what's the best system to use? Is there a good software package I can use to manage everything? How can I control my lights and my doors and all of that stuff from one place, because I don't want 6 different apps, one for each feature. And he actually told me that there isn't really something like that in SA that's affordable. And so what we decided to do is Dale figured out the hardware part for us, I figured out the software part, we put it all together and we started Homebot. We built the system firstly for ourselves, and so we actually use this as well. This is not just something we're selling to other people. But then we realized there's a need for this kind of thing. Yeah. And interestingly enough, for the house I'm building at the moment, excuse me, it's a 4-bedroom house. And I went to a couple of our competitors and I took my building plans to them and I asked them to quote me on automating just my lights and my garage door. Just those 2 things. And the quotes came in averaging around 100,000 Rand. Whereas that same house, it's crazy. That same house with Homebot we could do for 10, 12 maybe. 10, 12,000 Rand. Yeah. And that's because we use locally produced hardware, and even though it's locally produced, it has been used in industry mostly for 10 plus years now. Yeah. So it's pretty reliable.
It's SABS approved.
SABS approved. Because it's locally approved, because it's locally built, if anything goes wrong with it, the supplier can fix it for you locally. You don't have to send anything back overseas. It also comes with a 3-year warranty. And all of this hardware ties into the custom software that we built. And the software lets you do everything from simply switching things on and off, to setting up schedules, to even integrating with third-party services. And we'll get a little bit more into that later on. You can do smart things like link it to the weather or link it to the GPS location on your phone and have those be triggers for certain things that are going to happen. And if you're really geeky like we are, you can also get a voice assistant. Amazon and Google both build these little devices. This is what the Amazon Echo Dot looks like. Google has a similar thing. And you put this little speaker / microphone in your house somewhere, and you can then speak to it. It's got
It makes everything super convenient.
Exactly. Like, what do you use it for at home, for example?
I use it quite often to set scenes. So I dim my lights outside to about 20%, and I've got a scene set up. So I say switch on outside lights, and it switches the outside lights to that 20% module. And I tell you what, it's fantastic. Just not having to flick 5 different switches to get 3 different lights working is really awesome.
And also, I would imagine when you get home, you don't have to walk in the dark to where the light switch is. You can just, before you walk into a room, say, Alexa, switch on the bedroom light, and the light goes on.
Sure.
Or if you leave, say you go to work and you realize you forgot to turn something off, you can switch it off remotely. You can just speak to Alexa or Google on your phone, and it will toggle the things remotely. But anyway, we're going to talk about all of those things. So let's start with how it all works. So we've got the software component and we've got the hardware component. And we try and make the whole home automation installation as simple as possible for our customers. When you go to the Homebot website, that's homebot.cloud, on there's a cost calculator where you can tell us how many rooms you have, whether you have dimmer lights or normal lights, how many light switches you need, how many garage doors you have, how many appliances you want to control, all that kind of stuff. When you fill out that form, we then get in touch with you and just confirm everything you need. and we ask you to send us a sketch of the layout of your house. And then on our side, we get all of the hardware that you need. We test it all, we link it all together, we pre-configure it, and we get a floor plan, a proper floor plan drawn up that we load onto the system for you as well. And so by the time we box everything up in a nice little box like this and send it off to you, you can just hand that box over to your electrician. There's an instructions sheet inside, but it's really simple to install for them. It will take your electrician an hour or two to get everything wired up, and the moment it's wired up, you can take out your phone and you can start switching things on and off from your phone or from your Apple Watch or from your...
Immediately.
Yeah. So, Dale, do you want to show us what some of the hardware looks like maybe?
Sure. Okay, so these are what the relay switches actually look like. These are the two dimmer relays. One's an LED dimmer relay and the other one's a regular halogen or incandescent dimmer relay. As you can see, they've got 4 connection points for each light, which makes it fairly simple for connecting. In fact, if you're a hobbyist, you could probably do it yourself. Linking relays, there's a little button on the side. There's the serial code, which we will obviously use to set up your Homebot system. And that's it.
And so each relay would correspond to each light circuit that you have in the house?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you've got a set of 5 downlighters in your bedroom, for instance, you would use one relay to control all 5 downlighters.
So the way, an easy way to always think of it is every switch in your house you press to turn one or more lights on or off,
yes,
corresponds to one relay.
Exactly that.
So, for example, you would have one relay for your bedroom lights, one relay for your living room lights, one relay for your bathroom lights, and so on.
Exactly it. Yeah.
And these relays don't just control lights, right?
Yeah, you do get pulsing relays for your gate motors and your garage doors. You do get plain simple relays, latching relays for just plain on and off. These are just 2 demo units for the dimmer circuits.
For dimmer lights,
yeah. So it's pretty simple.
Yeah, and what we can even do is if you want to control appliances, not necessarily hardwired lights or motors or anything like that, we've got a version of a relay like this that looks like a normal plug that you have in your wall, either a double plug or a single plug, and you replace your existing wall plug with our plug, which has a relay built in, and then immediately you can remotely control that plug. You can switch it on and off. So for example, how I use that at home is my coffee machine is plugged into a plug like that. And so every evening before I go to bed, I just put my grinds in there and I put some water in, and I have it set to a schedule. And every morning at 6 o'clock, it will start making my coffee, and by the time I wake up, my coffee is already made. What I can also do is if I know I'm going to have a day full of meetings and I'm only going to be back home at 1 o'clock, I often prepare the coffee machine, and then while I'm driving back home, when I know I'm more or less 20 minutes away from home, I just take out my phone and I press the button to start the coffee machine, and the coffee machine starts brewing, and by the time I get home it's done and I can just start using it. Another use for a plug like that is if it's winter and you have an electric blanket and you're sitting in the lounge watching TV still or having dinner, you can switch on your electric blanket in preparation for going to bed. You don't actually have to go there, plug it in, switch it on. You just press a button on your phone or press a button on your watch, or you say, hey, Alexa, switch on the blanket, and she's going to do it for you.
Same goes for your geyser and your stove. We do offer a 30 amp variation of this. These only do 5 amps, but we do offer a 30 amp variation which can control your geyser, a pool pump, a little water fountain, high voltage or high amperage devices. But I mean, it makes things very, very simple. It's exactly the same as this, effectively.
And these relays allow you to switch things on and off, but through our software we can also monitor what is currently on or what is currently off. So we've also built in safety features. Say you connect a relay like this to your stove, and you leave the house but you can't remember whether you switched your stove off. You would be able to open up the system and see whether your stove is still pulling power or not, and if it is, you can switch it off. So it's a nice safety feature. Or if you have guests staying over at your guest house, say, and you've got relays like this in there, when they leave, you can open up the system on your phone or open up the system on your computer, and you press one button and it makes sure that all the lights are switched off, the water is closed, all of that. Yeah. Which brings me on to another piece of hardware we have as well. We just developed a water flow meter.
Yes.
So especially with a drought in Cape Town now, that's a very useful piece of equipment to have, because you can connect this water flow meter either to the main line coming into your house, or you can connect it to individual devices.
Specific devices, yeah. So either your shower or your bath, for instance, even your outside irrigation system, whatever you want to measure your water with.
Yeah, and it will then tell you used, in the past week, you used so many liters of water for this, so many liters of water for that. And we can do the same thing with power as well. We can measure either the total amount of power being used by your house, or we can break it up and we can say this appliance used so much, the stove used so much, the heater used so much, etc. So when we install these devices for you, or when your electrician installs these relays for you, he will also install our light switches for you. The reason for that is the normal light switch that you have in a house is an up-down switch. So it's either flipped the one way or the other way. And you can't control that electronically via software. So we just replace those with our light switches. And we've got a couple of different kinds of light switches. This is our white model, and it's either in a 2-button format or a 4-button format like this. And you can program these buttons to do whatever you want. Multiple buttons can do the same thing on multiple switches. So you can have 2 switches on both sides of a corridor, for example, and they can both switch on the corridor light or switch it off. And then we've got metallic switches as well. And we've even got some metallic switches that have a backlight, which is a nice safety feature.
Very nice.
Like outside, for example, or
yes.
by stairs.
Well, yeah. For instance, if you've got a dark corridor and you're on your way down into your bedroom, for instance, you'll have a light flashing, or not flashing, but a solid light beaming, and you're able to pick out your light switch immediately.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Also nice for kids, especially kids who are scared of the dark. If you put a light switch like that in the room, they immediately know where the switch is. And you'll notice that these switches have no wires hanging out of them, like a switch normally would. All of the hardware we use communicates via radio signals. So it creates a little encrypted network inside of the house between all your various devices that we send you, and they talk to each other over radio signals. You don't have to install a wire between your light switch and the relay in your garage. And because of that, you can also put your light switches wherever you want. So if you're building a new house, for example, you don't need to have your builder put conduits and everything in. You can just leave the wall blank, and afterwards you go and you attach these light switches wherever you want.
That's it.
And you program them to do whatever you want. And later on, if you decide you want to change the layout of the switches, it's as easy as taking it off the wall and sticking it somewhere else. So very handy.
Exceptional.
And then the last piece of hardware that we want to show you here is a little Wi-Fi hub. It looks like this. And this is what connects all of that hardware to our software. So our software lives on the internet, and everything in your house, via that radio network that it creates, connects to this little thing. You plug this little thing into your existing ADSL or fiber router, which gives this internet connectivity, and in turn then gives your entire home automation setup internet connectivity. The moment it's plugged in and it's connected, you can open up the app on your phone, or you can open up the thing on your watch, or you can start talking to Amazon Alexa or Google Home, and you can immediately start controlling all of that stuff.
It's immediately readily available.
It's immediately available, and it's even smart enough to send you an email if your internet connection at home does go down, so you know that you won't be able to control things remotely until it comes back up again. And by the way, guys, while we're talking about all this stuff, feel free to ask any questions that you have, whether it's about our service and hardware or about home automation in general. We're happy to answer any questions you have. We've been doing all the research, so we've seen what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, we're talking about months and months worth of research here, so
yeah.
In fact, if not years.
Like I said, there hasn't really been a good solution for this kind of thing in SA. We're
not a cost-effective solution.
No, not a cost-effective. We're by far the most cost-effective ones, and we're the first really local, homegrown solution for both hardware and software.
Yes.
So I see someone is asking a question here. Matt is asking about pricing, costing. So I mentioned earlier that when I started building my house, I went to a couple of our competitors, and I took my building plans and I asked them to do a cost estimate for me just to wire up my lights and my garage door. And it came to, on average, around 100,000 Rand to do that, which is not really something you want to pay for unless you can afford that luxury. With our solution, it's insanely expensive, yeah. And it, by the way, that solution wouldn't have been able to do everything ours would. It wouldn't integrate with Google Home, it wouldn't integrate with Amazon Alexa, it would purely be a tablet against the wall and I can control things from the tablet, which is not what we wanted. We wanted to be able to control things remotely over the internet. So with our solution, the costing depends on the exact hardware you need. So a little relay like this is about 470 Rand, a switch like this is about 380 Rand, and a Wi-Fi hub is about 500 Rand. But you guys can take a look at our website, homebot.cloud. When you open up the website, on the top right, there's a cost calculator button. And if you click on that and you just fill in how many rooms your house has, whether you have garage doors, motor gates, geysers, stoves that you want to control, all those kinds of things, it will do a cost estimate for you. It will tell you roughly what it's going to cost to do the installation. And if you submit that form, we will actually call you. And we'll talk you through what you submitted and just make sure everything is right, and then we'll give you final costing. But in our calculations, a 4-bedroom house comes to around 12 to 14,000 Rand. A 3-bedroom house, or rather a 2-bedroom house, we worked out at about 8 to 9.
Yeah, it was about 9. Yeah.
It was about 9. And the average bachelor pad, if you just want to do your coffee machine and maybe 1 or 2 lights and so on, it comes to like 3,000-4,000 Rand. Yeah, so it's very affordable. And there's a once-off cost to purchase the hardware. And once you've got the hardware, it's yours forever. And then there's a subscription fee you pay to be able to use the software. That subscription fee is until the end of the year with our introductory pricing. It's 1,500 Rand for the whole year.
For the next following year, yeah.
Yeah, for the next 12 months. And as of January next year, our pricing will be going up a little bit. So if you want to treat yourself to a Christmas gift, now's the time to do it. Should you ever decide to not use our software anymore and to stop paying the subscription, you can do that with 30 days notice. But that doesn't mean that you won't be able to use your home automation stuff anymore. All of the hardware will still work. You'll still be able to switch your lights on and off with your normal switches. And if at any point in the future you decide that you want to get the software again, so you can do everything from your phone or your watch or your tablet, you can just start your subscription and everything continues where you left it off. And what's also nice about that is if you do pause your subscription, we still collect data about your house for you. So when things were on, how much power they used, how much water you used, all that data still gets collected. And when you sign back up, you're not going to have a gap in your house's history. You'll still be able to see what you used and how you used things during that period when you were unsubscribed. We have a lot of developers and builders who are interested in our system as well, specifically for this aspect, that you don't need our software to be able to use the hardware, because when you build a house, you can save money on your wiring and on your labor, because our stuff doesn't need wires, it all works via radio signals. So you can build your house for a little bit more cheaply, and if you put your hardware into the house while you're building the house, your house is Homebot ready at any point in the future. You can decide to just get the software, and there you go, you can control everything remotely.
Sorry to bug you. I've got a question here from Janine. She's asking how secure is Homebot against outside hacking?
So it's a very good question.
Yeah.
Just first off, that kind of hacking you see on TV, that just keep in mind that's all dramatized. In the real world, it doesn't really work like that. That's not to say that systems can't be broken into. They can, and they do get broken into all the time. But how our system works is when you install one of these relays in your house, and when you install a switch and you link these two together, or when you have a little Wi-Fi bridge like this and you link it all together, the first signal these two things send to each other is called a handshake. And during that handshake, they decide on a way of encrypting their signals, and everything from that point onwards is encrypted. So even if someone were to listen in on the signal from outside on the street with a radio receiver or something, all they would hear is static noise. And this is the same kind of encryption that's used by the banks. It's the same kind of encryption that's used by websites. You would have seen some websites that you go to when you have to enter your credit card details. It shows that little lock That's called public key pair SSL encryption, but it's the same kind of encryption that we use here and that we use for the Homebot software as well. So it's industry standard encryption. The chances of someone breaking into this is extremely small. It's going to be much easier for them to actually break down break down your door and get into the house that way.
The radio frequency is also an awkward range. It's not a popular range. So in order for somebody to break in, they potentially have to know many, many things before actually even having the ability to even consider doing something like that.
In fact, you probably wouldn't be able to get
And never mind the equipment that you want.
Yeah. So, as with any door, any lock, someone who's absolutely dedicated to it and a professional thief, and if they try really hard, maybe they would be able to get in, but it's extremely unlikely. It's not really something people need to worry about. I mean, we use it ourselves, and Dale, you've been using this for how long now?
Probably closer to 7 or 8 years now.
7 or 8 years, yeah.
Never been an issue.
And this exact same hardware has been used in industrial applications for?
Obviously the water metering, power consumption reading, those are the two main functions on the industrial sector.
And that's been, I think, 14 years.
Yeah, QuickSwitch have been around for a very, very long time. They're a reputable company, so
and
the hardware suppliers.
If it's good enough for industry and people aren't able to break into it there, it's good enough for the home. Absolutely. And it's not really something you need to worry about.
Absolutely.
So a question we often get is, people sometimes already have home automation devices and they want to link that up to our system. So maybe they already have Philips Hue light bulbs, or they already have Wemo smart switches, or they have Sonoff devices, or they have a Harmony Hub, or anything like that. The way we built the Homebot software, most of those things can connect to Homebot, and then from Homebot you can control everything. I'll give you an example. A while ago I did an installation for a client, and he got a smart plug from us because he wanted to be able to switch his office light on and off. So he got a smart plug and he got one of these little Wi-Fi bridges, but he already had a couple of Philips Hue bulbs. Those are Wi-Fi enabled light bulbs. The light bulb itself has a Wi-Fi receiver in it, and so you can screw that light bulb in anywhere, connect to it wirelessly, and then switch it on and off. And he had a Google Home device. And I went there, I did the installation for him, set up the software quickly, linked up the Philips Hue device, linked up the Google Home, and then suddenly he didn't have to open up the Philips Hue app to switch on the bulbs or speak to the Google Home just to ask for information and scheduling and things like that. Everything then ran through Homebot. And so from Homebot, you could switch on and off all his Philips Hue devices, you could switch on the smart switch you got from us, and you could use Google Home to tell Homebot to do those things as well. And by the way, since I'm mentioning Philips Hue, there are many Wi-Fi enabled light bulbs on the market already, Philips Hue being the most popular one. Another one is called LIFX, and there are one or two others as well. Be wary if you buy bulbs like that. They're very good quality and they work really well, but the main problem there is each of them connects to your Wi-Fi router separately. And most home Wi-Fi routers have a limit on how many devices can connect to it at the same time. If you've got a very cheap old telecom router, chances are that limit is going to be 4 or 8 devices. And so if you've got 2 phones, 2 computers, a couple of light bulbs and so on connected on there, suddenly your router is full. Yeah, you've reached your limit, and then some of your devices are going to be kicked off, or some things just won't have internet connectivity at all. That's a downside to those Wi-Fi enabled light bulbs. We get around that by not having every single device connect to Wi-Fi individually. Rather, we create our own radio network, and all of the devices over the radio network connects to the Wi-Fi hub, and it's just one Wi-Fi hub that connects to your router, so it only uses up one spot on your router.
Got a question from Glenn Moran. Hi guys, I see that we can get the SensorBo devices in South Africa, which you can use to control your traditional air conditioning units, thus making them smart. Could this be integrated into the Homebot solution so that it doesn't need to use a different app to control the device?
Yes. So SensorBo is available from a couple of retailers in SA, and one of the third-party services that we integrated Homebot with is a website called ifttt.com. That's short for if this then that. And SensorBo does have an if this and that integration, which means by connecting Homebot to IFTTT and connecting IFTTT to Sensibo, you can make Sensibo and Homebot talk to each other. So when you connect it up that way, you'd be able to create a button on your Homebot dashboard, and when you click that button, it does something on the Sensibo side. So yes, you can. And the same thing applies to many other things. In fact, that's how I linked up the Philips Hue light bulb to Homebot as well. I just did it through IFTTT.com and everything works. And if you guys are interested in seeing what devices can all work with Homebot, go to the IFTTT.com website, click on Browse, and then go to the Home Automation category. Everything that you see there, you can connect to and control from our system. So appliances is one of the things that you can control with our system as well. You can use Sensibo if you want to control things like air cons and so on, but coffee machines, electric blankets, heaters, fans, blind motors, anything in your house that has an on-off switch, you can control with Homebot by either using a smart plug and plugging the device into the smart plug, or by, if it's something that's wired into the house like a blind motor or a roller door or a garage door, by just linking it up to one of our relays, and then you can control your appliances as well, which is pretty handy. Instead of buying a 4,000 Rand coffee machine that has a scheduler and a timer and all that kind of stuff, you can buy a 500 Rand plain percolator, just plug it into a smart switch, and hey, you've got a coffee machine with a scheduler.
It actually turns dumb machines into smart machines effectively. You don't have to replace your old appliances, you just make them smart with our system.
Exactly, and again, it's all from one place where you can control it. You don't need one app for this and another app for that and another app for that. Something else that you can potentially save money on as well is home irrigation systems. If you go to Builders Warehouse or one of those places and you buy a home irrigation computer, that's going to cost you a couple of $100 Rand, if not 1,000 Rand, depending on what you need. But with Homebot, you don't actually need to go to that expense. If you've got Homebot, or if you get Homebot, you can control your irrigation system with it. We would just install a couple of relays for each of your zones that you want to irrigate, and you can then on the Homebot system either go and define a schedule for when each of the zones should switch on and off and how long it should be on and so on, or you can take it a step further and you can link Homebot up to let's say a third-party weather service. And when the weather service predicts rain in your area, it can be smart enough to talk back to Homebot and stop your irrigation for that day, so you're not going to waste water.
And there are 2 or 3 other solutions, but they're not cost-effective that are able to link up to the weather services. They are not locally available, and as I say, they're not at all cost-effective.
The big problem is always local availability. Many of these things you can order from overseas. You can get them from Amazon.com and eBay.com and so on, but you're going to pay a lot of extra money for the shipping and the customs and just the import taxes and all of that. So what we try and do with Homebot and with the hardware we use is when our clients come to us and say they have a specific need, they want to be able to do A, B, and C. If we don't have a solution for that yet, we're more than happy to always build it. Sure. Whether it's hardware or software, we can put things together. We just had a client come to us, for example, about hotel rooms, and they want to be able to have guests use voice controls to open and close the blinds in the hotel rooms. And so we got a couple of motors. We're busy building the relay integration for that right now. And once we go and do the installation for them, their guests will be able to walk into the room and just say, open the blinds, or blinds open to 75% or something like that. And there you go. It's going to open up or it's going to close.
I've got one more question from Glenn. Regarding the plug unit, do you know QuickSwitch would consider making a unit that you'd use to replace your current plugs in your house instead of having the smart plug unit hang off the wall, off of the existing wall plug? So I can answer this. Inside the QuickSwitch inside the QuickSwitch smart plug is actually just another relay. It's another version of one of these, effectively. It fits in a plain 2x4 box and a 4x4 box, either the rectangle box or the square box. And all you do is you just wire your plug into series with the relay, and that's it. I mean, it fits inside of a traditional 4x4 box and a 2x4 box, so you don't have to change your plug fittings or your plug tops. It is very much just that simple.
Yeah, so you've got 2 options really. You can either keep the plug top, plug face that you have at the moment.
That's it.
We can just give you a relay to put behind that to control it.
Yes.
Or you can get a smart plug and you can take the entire back of the smart plug off,
Yes.
and you can actually attach that whole thing into the cavity you've got in the wall already, and then you've got your plug.
That's it.
So it really depends on whether you've already got all the hardware there or whether you're building a new house and you just want to put everything in from scratch. So
That's it.
Carla has a question here. How about an existing house if I'm not building a new house? So if you're building a new house, installing your system is really easy. You're going to have your electrician there to install all of your electrics anyway, and so you can save a bit of money on the labor and the wiring and all of that by using our devices instead of the traditional way of wiring things up. And once I've installed that, whether you use the Homebot software or not, your house is always going to be Homebot ready, and it's going to be collecting data. So by the time you go online and get our system, you will be able to see the entire history of usage in your house. But if you have an existing house, it's also very easy to integrate there. All that you would do is you would decide which of the circuits in the house you want to automate, and you don't have to do everything right from the start. You can do it bit by bit if you want to stretch it out over a couple of months maybe. And you get your electrician to install the relays for those parts that you want to automate. You replace your existing light switches with ours, and you're good to go. You're still going to have the wires in the wall that used to go to the light switches, but when your electrician takes the old light switches off, you can just close those off, and our light switch goes on top of that.
It makes retrofitting really easy. So it's really a no-brainer. So.
And in fact, if you're going to have an installation where you don't necessarily need relays for ceiling lights or anything, you just want smart plugs, then you don't even need to replace your wall switches. Leave them as they are right now, and you just get your smart plugs installed, and you can control it all from your phone.
One thing I need to say, guys, is if you know what you're doing, and you're a hobbyist potentially, you could do this yourself, but it's always best to get an electrician out to come and do these kinds of things for you, just for safety's sake.
Yeah, and there's a legal reason as well. Like,
yes.
We always tell our clients you have to get a certified electrician because Dale knows about this more than I do. But if you change the electrics in your structure,
Yes.
you need to have permits to be allowed to do that. Otherwise, if you make illegal changes and something burns down, your insurance is probably not going to pay out, and you're going to be liable and all that stuff. So smart plugs are easy. You just plug them into the wall and you can use it. But if you're going to get relays for your lights and your doors and your geysers and all that,
Best to get a professional.
get a professional. And if you don't know who to get, contact us and we'll tell you who to get in touch with in your area to come and install it for you guys.
I got a question here from Tian. Hi guys, what's the battery life of the light switches? The battery life of the traditional light switch is roughly about 3 years. Replacing the battery is very easy. I don't think we've got a screwdriver here.
No, I tried. I don't actually have a tool to.
Yeah, right, there we go.
I think
The front faceplate just pops off, and as you can see, there's a little battery in the front.
You'll see it's that little CR2 battery, I think it's called. It's those traditional watch batteries, those flat round ones.
Yeah.
And 3 years, you said.
Yeah, 3 to 7 years, depending on how often you use it.
And the nice thing is, once a switch goes on the wall, it's so easy to open it up. Like you saw now, just with a little bit of effort, I could pop it open, or you just stick a screwdriver in there, and it pops open, and you can replace your battery. The switch will warn you when the battery is running low, so it will start flashing the light that it has on here to tell you when it's running low. And as long as you replace it in time, you're not going to be left without light switches. If you do forget to replace it in time, you still have options until you get a new battery. Either you can use your phone and the Homebot software to still turn things on and off, or you can just walk up to any of the other light switches in your house. You hold in the light switch button there, hold in the button on the relevant relay in your garage. At the same time, they're going to connect it, and now that light switch will switch on the old light where the battery is flat. And you can use that other light switch to control that room until you get a new battery.
And the bonus of this, obviously, is that you wouldn't need that the switches will remember what they're supposed to do. So even if you do remove the battery, it's the switches know exactly what they need to do when you put in a new battery. It doesn't lose its memory.
Yeah, you don't have to reprogram things.
No.
That's why we're also able to, when our customers place an order with us, assemble everything on our side, test it all, pre-program it all, based on what our client needs, label it to tell the electrician this is that room, this is that room, this is that room, and plug it all out and then send it off. Yeah, nice and easy.
Very easy.
So something people are really keen to hear more about is voice control and voice assistance. This is becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger thing. Excuse me. So I think it was Amazon really that started the whole voice control thing.
So, yeah.
With Amazon has a virtual assistant called Alexa. They came up with Alexa first, and then after that we had Siri, and then we had Google Now, and then we had Google Assistant, and there are a couple of other companies doing it now as well. But essentially what voice assistants allow you to do is to talk to a computer program as if it's a person and ask it to do things for you or to give you information. So for example, with this Amazon Echo Dot that I've got here, if you plug this in and you put this in your living room, you can ask it, Alexa, play so-and-so music, and it's going to start playing music off of your music service. Or if you've got a special thing you plug into your TV, you can tell it to play an episode of Netflix on the TV and it will stream it there and play it for you. Or you can ask it for information like, what's the weather like? Or what's a telephone number for this or for that?
News briefing in the morning.
News briefings. You can listen to radio, you can listen to podcasts, all that kind of stuff. You can also, from one Echo device to another Echo device, make phone calls. And you can actually use this as kind of an intercom system throughout your house. If you want to talk to the kids, to tell them to get up, and they've got one of these in their room, you can send a message there and then maybe play some loud music afterwards to get them out of bed.
It's surprisingly useful. I use it in my house quite often.
Yeah. The Echo, as well as the Google Home device, they both are able to connect to Homebot. And at the moment, what you can do with that connection is you can give it commands to switch things on and off. So you can say, Alexa, switch on my living room lights, or Alexa, I'm heading out, and then it switches everything off, or Alexa, dim the bathroom to 40%, and it will dim the bathroom lights to 40%. We're busy working on even deeper integration, and once that's done, you'll be able to do things like ask it, hey Google, what was my water consumption like for the past week? And it will give you the answer. Or Google, which of my lights are on at the moment? Or Alexa, switch off my lights tonight at 8 o'clock, and it will do that for you automatically. So we're working on making it a bit smarter, but you can already control everything with this. And should you get a device like this, it will be compatible with the Homebot software into the future forever as well.
It's a fantastic little device, I must be honest.
And you've actually got a couple.
Yeah, I do. I've got a few of them scattered throughout the house. They're very, very helpful.
So no matter where you go, you can actually talk to your house and have it do things for you.
Yeah. You can set up scenes, so you can say, Alexa, switch to movie mode. And for instance, now my house is open plan, so it switches off the kitchen, switches the lounge light to about 10%. It just does all those things automatically with one command.
And if you had a popcorn machine, you could switch that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, great. Well, if you guys have any further questions for us, we're happy to answer them. Else, we're going to be signing off soon. Anything you want to know about home automation, you're welcome to ask us now. You're also welcome to send us an email at any time, or go to the Homebot Facebook page and send us a message through there. And if you'd like to see what Homebot looks like, go to our website and click on the Try a Demo button. If you click on that button, it's going to open up a demo dashboard where it will show you a sample floor plan. There's a couple of buttons on the side. You can see what the power meter looks like. You can play around with the buttons in the floor plan and the sliders you can use to set the dimmer lights and all of that. And just get an idea of what it feels like to use a Homebot. And do try that out on your computer and your tablet and your phone, so you know what it feels like on all those various devices.
Got another question from Glenn. Do you have a water flow meter with a ball valve to monitor and control the consumption? So the water flow meter that we have at the moment isn't ball valve controlled or solenoid controlled. You'd have to purchase a separate solenoid unit. I'm not aware that those things do come together, that the shut off and the measuring come together. I'm not 100% aware that we can do that.
Well, you wouldn't be able to get an off-the-shelf hardware solution to do that, but
we can do it software-wise. So you can potentially have your council water meter, our water meter, and then the shut-off valve.
Yeah.
So, for instance, you'd measure the water, but via software, via our system, and then shut off the water via our system as well, through the solenoid.
Yeah. And then on the Homebot system, you could set certain limits. Like you could set it to shut off the water at certain times of day, or shut off the water on certain dates, or shut off the water after a certain amount of usage. It all depends on what you need.
And the other thing as well with the water flow meters and the water flow solenoids, we don't offer the cheap plastic versions. We offer top quality brass version. So minimal rust, minimal failure rates. It's fantastic. They're fantastic products. Brass is expensive, but I think it's the only product we should offer.
No, for sure. It's like all of our other hardware. You need to install it once, and then you're going to be able to use it for 10, 20 years before you need to replace it.
That's it.
Great. Well, thank you very much for joining us, guys.
Yeah.
Go and take a look at the Homebot website. That's homebot.co.za or homebot.cloud, either one. And try the demo on the website. Take a look at the cost calculator. See what it would cost to automate your home. And if you have any further questions, you're welcome to send us an email using the Contact Us button on the site, or by sending a message on the Facebook page.
Or phone Tian if you're feeling lonely. So.
Tian likes talking. He'll tell you all about what our system does. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Cheers.